investors to look into the market. And if you have a bond issued with a return of about 8%, okay, I mean, that's the short to medium term. It's better for the person because, one, the economic outlook certainly is not guaranteed, for the economic challenges that we have in the country. So you could see that a lot of investors will look at, the fixed income market rather than going into the capital market, because already the capital market is reporting negative performance. All right? It's already reporting negative performance. So it is not an attractive, market for investors who are hitherto short-term sighted. For example, if you do a risk profile of Ghanaians, you should see that they are more, risk averse. Ghanaians are not risk takers. Okay, so if you look at them going to the stock market when the economic uncertainty, there's high economic uncertainty, there's high, business confidence is low, they will rather want to look at the fixed income market or the money market and then, wait until everything reverses. Okay, we've had a certain period where the interest rates regime was lower and the stock market was quite, performing well. Okay, right. But now that the stock market, and if you heard about the interest rates, I mean, interest rates are high, over 20% now, and the stock market is doing a negative. So who will go to the stock market? It's only the investors who have long-term. Of course, the stock market is actually for long-term investors anyway. But when we have a country of people who are much more risk-averse, they will rather have a low appetite for securities that are short-term and returning significantly. If you look at the European market, you put up a question as to why we are having a lot of oversubscription. If you look at the Americans and then the European market, I mean, the rates.
The astute investors that would look at the fundamentals of the company. And if you look at the fundamentals of the company, virtually about 70% of them are not doing so well. We have the banks recovering, their NPLs have gone down. But still there's the negative sentiment on the market, which shifted from 2015 into 2016. And that is what is still affecting the market.
So commercial banks have been exposed to this particular situation. But then again, if you look at the results, because I've had people do their assessment that there's more of like a knee-jerk disapproval given to the bond issuance, because if you look at the commercial banks, for example, the benefits to both investors and the economy as a whole far outweigh the profit maximization expectations of these banks, for that matter. That's been the argument of some other people. So,
clearly it's true, because you should understand that the government attempt to issue, especially the dollar-denominated bonds locally for Ghanaians and Ghanaians, outside the country in the diaspora, radically squeeze the market for these commercial banks. Because hitherto they are also in that business, okay, right, to offer opportunities for Ghanaians outside to be able to invest, in dollar terms, okay, dollar investment in the country, so that they can also give them the kind of interest that they also require, But government is now moving into that space. So you have most of these commercial banks, arguing it out that, of course, it will affect their interest incomes, okay? So they would not be satisfiedly, give approval for such this, because now they are battling it out with the high NPLs. So they need to find other innovative ways to sustain their business.
Winslow is talking about the NPLs, and we talk about NPLs as the net profit losses, or the total profits, or
non-performing
loans. I beg your pardon. That's the loans that these banks are able to recover over the period. So let's just put it that way. And you say that it looks good, banks are able to...
There's been an improvement compared to last year's NPL.
But you cannot say, I think what Mr. Ampa is saying is that it's growing in the worst state, rather.
No, you didn't understand what I said. What I'm looking at is that now banks also have, and are offering that product where investors outside the country or Ghanaians who have dollars can invest with them, for interest, for significant interest. But now the bank, the government is also issuing CD dollar denominated bonds, for Ghanaians in the country and outside the country. What it means is that you rather battle the space with these commercial banks.
Right.
Because government is offering about what they did. They're offering over 6%. These banks hitherto maybe will be offering about 4%. So right. Who will go? I mean, definitely they will go for the government.
But how does the picture look like now?
I think we need to also look at it from the government's point. We have a very stable CD, and if you can borrow at 6% dollar, it makes more sense to them than going to the market to borrow at 22-24%. So in as much as it's squeezing the commercial banks out, the government is also looking at borrowing at cheaper rates.
Right.
There's an argument for the commercial banks. They need to do business, they need to survive, and last year wasn't very good for them. It's kind of, they are being squeezed both from the business side and from the government side. And I think that is a situation that we need to look at. Nobody would want government to squeeze businesses out, but government also wants to borrow at a lower rate.
Absolutely.
Which makes sense now because the CD is very, very stable. We've seen a depreciation of around 4.48%. If we are looking at 6%, so we are looking at about 10% cost of borrowing in dollars if you factor in the CD depreciation. And that makes more business sense,
favors government,
yes, to the government than, yes. But I wouldn't support government coming into the market to squeeze out the commercial banks.
I mean, that's where the argument is, because the government is supposed to. I mean, we've had this slogan: government supporting the private sector, government supporting industries to grow. So if government come into the space where most of these banks need to make very significant.
Essentially, commercial banks are exposed to certain uncompetitive, or would I say unfair competition in that sense of the word, if government gets into this particular space.
I do not agree to that. I mean, commercial banks are doing quite well. It's just a few economic challenges that we had in the past last year and somehow this year that has affected most commercial banks. But they will bounce back. Look, most commercial banks, what they are doing and what the core mandate of most of these banks are to lend out to businesses. We talked about the credit reference bureau, which was not there, so banks were not lending out. Now we have a credit reference bureau. They should still lend out. What they are doing basically is to now invest. Invest a significant portion of their mobilization in the money markets. Right, and that is something that we do not agree to. I mean, the banks should work with their money so that they support certain sectors of the economy. That's what we are looking for. So I believe that it is much more of a challenge for now banks to be more innovative. That is the word, to be more innovative and look at where they can make more money, invest and make more money. That's what banks need to do.
The banking population is still not growing as far as we speak.
No, but the banking...
the unbanked population, we have a very high unbanked population.
As against the banking population, that's what I'm saying. But that it's still not growing that much.
I think the point is, finally, our banks are not... They don't innovate that quickly to meet the needs of the public. And that's a major challenge for them. If they were reacting quickly, they would have come up with very, very innovative.
I see a lot more of duplication of products,
Well, they're all doing savings. But there are a lot of opportunities in the country now. There are a lot of SMEs that need a lot of SME investors. If you look at the agri sector, for example, you need a lot of investment within the agri sector. Okay, yeah. So these are areas that we can.
Outside.
Yes.
But finally, how does the
basically.
market look like? Very finally,
The market doesn't look too good.
it doesn't look too good.
I think, and coupled with the release of the third quarter results, like I said, there's been some weaknesses, and the investors are reacting. So we are still seeing the market falling. Currently, it's a negative 14.46. So it looks like it's getting worse. Yes, but we have some of the manufacturing stocks that are propping up the market, especially fan milk.
Wow, great. Now, what about the commodities as well? Finally,
Commodities for crude oil.
I know there's a lot of speculative effect of what's going to be happening in the U.S.
In
so
the US, yeah,
the bullions in
definitely.
gold are also
Yeah.
holding back investment.
Yes, so gold,
as well.
gold is seeing a little boom because of the uncertainty in the U.S. and because equity markets are not doing well globally. When you take crude, the issue is, OPEC countries decided that they will cut
some-
back. Yes,
yeah,
but
output.
so far they've not been able to agree on the cuts. And currently they are even overproducing more than before the agreement. So it looks like crude will see significant
About
shortfalls going forward.
$46 now a
Yes.
barrel.
Yes. So we are looking at it dropping towards the $40 mark.
Very well. Finally.
Well, I mean, what he just said, you should expect it happening, something happening to our ex-pump price soon.
That's the only fear that I was hoping he was not going to say. But let's see how the local market reacts to what's happening on the international market with respect to the price of a barrel of crude oil as we speak about it. But that's it for Business Focus this evening. I have Samuel Kofi Ampao, the head of finance and investment analyst and researcher with GN Research. It's always good to have you as well. Winslow Sakifio, who is a stock analyst with First Bank. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Great. This has been Business Focus. On behalf of the rest of the team, thank you for watching. Stay with us. We're getting to News 360. My name is Alfred Akanse. Good evening.